Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Board of Trustees meeting of February 8th, 2024. Could I have roll call, please?
Brianna Texoni here.
Yes, who's here? Not Scott here.
Falls draft here. Let's go to the agenda for the board meeting of February 8th, 2024. Can I have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Superintendent, is there anything to discuss?
We do have one amendment for the agenda for this evening. That is 12C, C as in cat, ordering of a special election resolution. One section of that resolution included former trustee Mr. Jorgensen's name. Of course, we replaced that with Mr. Costin. There was also a date change correcting what was to reflect Mr. Costin's four-year term ending in 2026, not 2024. Those are the two changes to that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. As noted, call the question.
Just to clarify, that was 12B and 12C, not both on 12C, correct?
That was one amendment made on 12C.
You lost me. What does all this mean?
I thought that there was an amendment made on 12B of the date and 12C of the name, but
Are we good? Good. Call the question.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Yes, who's I? Not Scott.
Falls draft aye. Is there any public participation at this time?
Not at this time.
Good. I'll read the statement if there is public recognition. Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session where we may discuss conference with labor negotiators, public employee discussion, discipline, dismissal, release, conference with legal counsel, and student matters?
I'll move.
Second.
Call the question.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Yes, who's I? Not Scott.
Falls draft aye. We will adjourn to closed session at 6:33 p.m. Good evening. We are going to, after closed session, attending closed session, we are going to reconvene the regular meeting of the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Board of Trustees for February 8th, 2024. The meeting will reconvene at 7:34. It will be our pleasure to have Ms. Alford lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand, put your right hand over your heart. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll be talking about it later.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I will read the civility statement. When conducting the district's business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect of time for the time of others, listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others, understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors, understand and respect district policies and procedures, and maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of those who have served in the past. Item 5, a report of action taken in closed session. There is nothing to report. Public comments, recognition, and reports. Do we have any public comments?
No public comment cards.
Just for sake of order, if you want to speak at any time, I'm pretty loose about this. If you like suddenly feel compelled by whatever drives you to feel compelled and you want to speak to the board on something, you feel strongly about an agenda item, this is the time to speak now on something that's not on the agenda. But if you feel strongly, Mr. Mascon Jr., for example, you would fill out a slip. And then when you do that, you will have not more than 3 minutes are allotted to any one speaker, no more than 20 minutes on the same subject. This portion of the agenda is for comments, recognitions, and reports to the board. It is not intended to be a question and answer period. We do not engage in debating. And if you have questions for the board, please provide the board president with a written copy. An administrator will provide you those answers at a later time. I am a stickler for people who come in here and attack the staff that serve our children on a daily basis, whether it's a teacher, an aide, or even the superintendent himself. If you feel necessary to yell at me, I love it. Superintendent, what is the golden spotlight this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Falsgraf. We're very, very excited this evening to bring back the Golden Spotlight. It's a monthly feature on our board agenda, so that's always an exciting thing. So tonight we are spotlighting our High Desert students, and this year for the first time, 2 Vasquez students when it comes to the Veterans of Foreign Wars Patriots Pen Essay Contest, as well as the Voice of Democracy Video Contest. We do have Ms. Van Ornum. I know she's had quite a few student activities throughout the day and as well as during the evening. And we're always thrilled to see Ms. Marilyn Alford here with us on the board evening tonight. And so I'm sure if Ms. Van Ornum, I know she's on the Zoom. Alex, I don't know if you could give her access to speak, perhaps. And then Ms. Alford.
I can speak on your behalf.
Oh. I think,
Go past this
are
light.
we
And the
unmuted?
next one, turn right.
Go past this light and then the next one, turn right in case you missed
There you
it. My apologies for not being there. I certainly look forward to this event every single year. I'm so proud of our students for them to go above and beyond and submit essays on their own really shows their commitment to their education, their commitment to their country. And I wish that we had time to read all of them because they really are inspiring. It is, they're really, really incredible students, and their reflection on how things should be and all of the great things that they see through their lens, even as middle schoolers, is awe-inspiring. So with that, the topic this year was, how are you inspired by America? And we had the most submissions come from our school. Our students took first, second, and tied for third. So we had first place, Eileen Cabrera. Second place, Lexi Van Ornum, who unfortunately is in the car with me. And third place, Connor Copeman. And then he tied with a student from Joe Walker Middle School for third. And then we had honorable mentions go to Esther Rivas, Valeria Gonzalez Medina, and Addison Walker. And I can't tell, but hopefully everybody's giving them a big round of applause.
Yes, yes, they are. Thank you, Michelle.
Miss Van Ornum spent her day babysitting me. Let's give her a big hand for that.
Oh.
Okay.
It was an honor. And then I did want to recognize
I'll
for
pay you
Voice of
$20
Democracy.
later.
For Voice of Democracy. So these are our first ever submissions from Vasquez High School for Voice of Democracy. And they happen to be two students that went through High Desert Schools. So they definitely wanted to carry on the tradition. They were both Patriots Pen winners. So we have first place was Augustine Cabrera. Second place, Francis Cabrera. And then third place was actually a student from Quartz Hill High School. And I'll brag just a little bit. He had won first place the last 2 years, and our submissions pushed him into third. So I'm pretty proud of our students, including those that continued on to become Mustangs. I know that Augustine and Francis are both in Spain, actually playing soccer right now, so they're not able to join us in person. But I thought we would have a little treat. Eileen is prepared to share her essay. And then on the last slide, there's a video of Augustine reading his essay at the VFW dinner, if we could turn it over to them.
Sorry, can I say something about the contest?
Yes, you may. We're here for you.
I already said this to her. I don't know if she's hearing me now. Do you want to talk?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
I love live performance evaluation.
Thank you.
Hi, Elsa.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Van Ornum. I already said this to her many times, that we really appreciate that she started introduce this contest to the school, to the middle school, and thanks to her, we discovered Voice of America too. So my boys were able to participate this year at high school level. And now she also introduced the art contest. It's the same thing from the Veterans of Foreign Wars, but it's an art contest. Eileen is going to participate as well because she really loves drawing. But this is open for kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. So our 3 schools are able to participate. And maybe that, I don't know, we know because of Mrs. Van Nuren told our school, but maybe we can tell the other 2 schools so they are able to participate. But I really wanted to say thanks to her. And also thanks for we love like this contest and Medal of Honor. We really love that in High Desert. And I wanted her to know again, to tell her thank you again. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Elsa. We love you guys too.
So we have, was it Esther that's going to be reading their essay? Or was it Aileen?
Eileen.
Eileen. Thank you, Eileen.
How does America inspire me? America has fundamental values that are difficult to find in some countries. Those are liberty, democracy, liberty, equality, democracy, freedom, individualism, unity, and diversity, among others. Because of that, America inspires me in different ways. Americans throughout history represented these values and helped build our nation. Some of these people are remembered in monuments like Mount Rushmore. This place is not only beautiful, but also historical, and I have been there twice. The colossal faces of these outstanding presidents symbolize different things. George Washington helped in founding the United States. Thomas Jefferson expanded America with the Louisiana Purchase. Abraham Lincoln helped in the unification of our country, and Theodore Roosevelt assisted in the preservation of national parks. I'm so proud of what they accomplished. The Lewis and Clark expedition is also admirable because it took a lot of courage. Lewis and Clark were both veterans and together with the U.S. Army and volunteers, went through starvation, severe weather, diseases, and more to map the new territories. But that didn't stop them from helping our country. What they did is memorable. The Battle of Gettysburg is also an unforgettable event during the Civil War. Many patriots lost their lives while fighting to keep our country united. I was amazed when I visited the battlefield and saw the artifacts of that time and heard the stories of what the soldiers had to suffer. I feel a lot of respect and admiration towards these brave patriots. I'm also inspired by the Declaration of Independence because it was based on the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thanks to this Declaration of Independence, I can live here in peace and freedom. This founding document was signed on July 4th, 1776, and allowed free and independent states to be created. I was born on July 4th, and I'm proud to be born on such a special and historic day in America. In the land of the people, there are many inspiring aspects that not only inspire me, but also millions of people. Some of these values include liberty, equality, democracy, and freedom. Thanks to these values, I can proudly say I am happy to live in the United States, but it wouldn't be possible without the countless valuable people who helped build this great country. They fought for what I believe and what I deserve. This is how America inspires me.
Thank you, Eileen, and thank you, Ms. Cabrera, for being here. Michelle, Ms. Van Ornum, you indicated there was a video as well, correct?
It should be on the next slide.
I don't believe we have it on the next slide.
Okay, I don't know if it's possible for him to pull it up from the Google Slides. I'm not sure. If not, I can send it later.
If you could send it to us later, and then we'll make sure that our trustees
got
do
it.
the video as well and congratulate our students. And for now, we do have certificates. I know that Esther is here, and of course, Eileen is here, and our trustees would like to go ahead and congratulate them for their efforts. And thank you, parents, for being here tonight with us. Ms. Alford? I'd like to maximize your time, Ms. Alford, since you're here with us tonight.
Only for her. All right. I just go.
Maybe the mic so that the viewers at home can go ahead and hear you.
So again, I want to read the names and honor all the students that did such an incredible job and participate. So Certificate of Excellence is proudly awarded to Esther Rivas. I'm gonna try this
Like we do at school. Good job. You're gonna go up to the front because we're gonna do some photo opportunities. Certificate of Excellence for that outstanding tribute and very well read and well done. Eileen Cabrera. Welcome.
Okay, let's roll. So we'll do both of them and I will do them separately. Okay, good. One picture will be by yourself or. Okay, don't go anywhere. We'll start with your. Okay.
And the other certificates, I'll be happy to present to the students. Or should they, yes?
Just read it into the record. That would be really cool.
Okay, great. All right, so from High Desert, Addison Walker, Alexis Van Ornum, Connor Koopman, and Valeria Gonzalez Medina. And for our Voice of Democracy, since you will be probably participating in that very soon, would you like to come up and get them for your brothers? Okay, so Augustine Cabrera and Francis Cabrera, two former students of mine.
To start off the comments, I just want to say that this is absolutely inspiring and fantastic. I'm a senior in high school and I'm inspired by what you did in your essay, and I would love to hear yours too. It's really an impressive thing to be so successful in, and I wish I was doing it when I was your age.
So very cool. Congratulations to both of you and to everybody that can't be here. Your family is amazing. That's all three of your kids are up here being honored, and I just think that's so fantastic. And on top of that, they're great kids outside of essay writing, and you guys are just an amazing family. So huge congratulations and good job. You did fantastic, and I know that's hard to probably get up there and read your essay in front of a bunch of people. So, and you did a fantastic job. So thank you, and congratulations to you. You guys are just amazing. I am not a writer in that way. So when I see people that are able to do that, it's just, it's very awe-inspiring. So thank you very much for being here, and congratulations.
Congratulations to all the students who were noted, and Island, your essay was fantastic, and I wish my birthday was also on July 4th. That'd be great. Sometimes I have the privilege to mentor first-year doctoral students in their progress, and they always ask me the same question: how do you do it? How do you work through this rigorous work, and how do you put it all together? And I tell them two things. You need two things: discipline and consistency, right? You gotta know what you have to do every day and do it, right? You have to be disciplined. And also you have to have consistency. You gotta do it every day, right? And it seems like those attributes are what you guys have to, all the students who were noted. You guys have those attributes, and I appreciate that. So keep moving forward, and thank you for all the excellent work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you for your effort and well done. That was fantastic. It's great to hear. Thank you.
Okay, guys, one of the things that I, for some reason, got involved in school was debating, and we were actually good at it. I would really like, before I leave the board, to find students who would start a debate team here, because this speech gives you an awareness of the principles of citizenship and democracy and process and public function. And people like you guys end up, you take administrative justice, you take congressional law, and the next thing you find yourself, you can take a couple law classes at community colleges that are around here, and you can actually take those and enroll before you finish school. Don't let your grades here slip, but this is where being an attorney starts. And yeah, you don't have to do personal injury or something. You can do something very meaningful for people. That there are people that can't understand, young lady, what you said there tonight. That want so much what you have expressed an interest in. And there are people who need to understand what you're saying because they don't have appreciation for it, even though, you live here, you grow up here. And you take the things you were talking about for granted. I would like if IT did you capture her speech? Good, let's burn a disc and give it to you. And play it for people at your first job interview. Thank you. I'm serious. We have the other movie now, is my understanding. Is that correct? Can we play that now?
Yes. So again, this is first place winner Augustine Cabrera's video for the Voice of Democracy video contest. First place winner.
What are the greatest attributes of our democracy? Governments all over the world have their own systems, finance, economy, and laws that the citizens must abide by. The United States of America is unique in that aspect. The United States uses a democracy which includes the Bill of Rights, a fundamental building block of our country that gives us a lot more freedom than other countries have. That raises the question, what other great attributes does our democracy have that other countries don't? The right to vote in the United States is an example of a great attribute that the country possesses. Having the right to vote allows people's voices to be heard and their opinions on who should be the next governor, mayor, president, and so on. Many countries do not have the privilege of freely electing anybody they wish to office. This is why it is a crucial aspect of the American democracy and why our country has such an advantage in this area. The Bill of Rights contains an abundance of liberties and privileges to which a typical American is entitled to. The list includes freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of movement, freedom to vote, the right to petition the government, among others. All of this contributes to the United States of America being so distinct in terms of freedom when compared to many other countries across the world. These characteristics also serve as the foundation for American democracy, providing Americans the motivation to exhibit the passion as well as serve the country to improve for the better. Federalism, or the distribution of powers between national, state, and regional levels, is another distinguishing feature of the United States of America. This approach allows numerous people to control various sizes of land in a controlled manner. This would imply that, as opposed to one person governing the entire country, it is divided into smaller states to make it easier to administer and manage without jeopardizing the main president's power. Many countries do not use this method to handle their lands, giving the United States a significant advantage over other countries in terms of land control and administration. The passion and pride people have and have had in the United States also contributes to one of our greatest attributes. The sheer amount of people that have fought in wars to make and keep the United States a safe and innovative country is nothing less than memorable, enlightening, inspirational, and motivational. The people who have the freedom to protest for what they think should or is correct is a huge privilege that citizens from other countries dream of having as well. This is a huge attribute that undoubtedly determines what people from the United States think about their own country and what other individuals from around the world think first about this powerful nation. In conclusion, the essential components of our representative democracy are respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms, separation of powers, independence of the branches of government, freedom of expression and of the press, and federalism. As an American, I am proud to be living in a country that is constructed with these great attributes that make American democracy one of the greatest and most powerful in the world.
Very good. We can't get enough of that in the school district.
That concludes our spotlight. Congratulations, students, and congratulations, parents.
Okay, let's move on. Number 7, strategic plan. This is the second read and adoption action for Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Strategic Plan. I will say that we went through this last time. We had some discussion, and I've asked the people up here on the dais to possibly summarize their input that they had last week or make any comments that they have now. Superintendent, do you have anything before we open it up to board comments?
Thank you. I'd just like to thank all of the educational partners who served on the development team once again and the writing team for making this all happen. We're eager to move on the plan and heighten our efforts as our blueprint moving our district forward through 2030, year 2030. Thank you.
Board, please entertain me by allowing me to introduce each of you as we go down the row. Aislinn will speak first. Aislinn is a student representative. Ms. Taxoni is our immediate past president. We rotate every year. Ms. Taxoni was integral into opening the board's eyes into the importance of the function. We've always had a student representative appear, but the function of that person has increased dramatically. So Aislinn represents you all of you students out here in our district. That's a huge responsibility, and Aislinn participated in the review of the strategic plan. Aislinn?
I have really no outstanding comments. I think everything that we have on this plan and everything that so many people worked so hard to create is truly remarkable. And I think it's gonna push our district into even better than we already are. And it's incredibly important. And everyone who worked on the process of creating it, writing it, and reviewing it should be extremely proud of what we have here and the possibilities it opens up in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Taxoni is your immediate past board president. You'll notice I'm a stickler for order. We moved through, when I got on the board, there was all these weird debates and people yelling, and it was just weird. Ms. Taxoni has experience as a school district employee on several different levels. She's engaged in everyday dealing with kids face to face and being kind of the front line of, I see you're maybe not feeling that good, or maybe you need a good word, or somebody out here is telling you you're alive. And through her lens, there is nothing like having a past president that knows the business of sitting in this chair, making the first board member comments. Brianna?
I thank you for that. I don't have any more comments other than what I stated at the last meeting. So I'm gonna go ahead and just piggyback off of Aislinn and say I concur with what she just said. And that's all I have to say about that.
Board member DeJesus is our newest board member, but he is certainly one of the most qualified people to sit up here. He has a doctorate degree and I don't know what. He's my face turns red when I think of his qualifications when I'm looking in a mirror. He teaches at one of the finest universities and he is out there making sure that the law enforcement officers that deal with the public are in the right frame of mind. And I could go on and on, but George, can you give us your comments if you have any, please?
Yeah, my doctorate degree's in basket weaving, so. I don't think it relates, but.
Wow, looks like I'm gonna lose the county fair this.
No, I apologize for being absent the last board session, and I know that you guys went over the first read of the strategic plan, and I had a family incident that I had to attend, so I apologize for that, but reviewing the strategic plan, it seems it's very comprehensive, and it highlights two important factors to me, the safety and increasing graduation rates, and also I like the military opportunities presented in the strategic plan. I want to thank the writing team for putting it together, and also I feel confident that the district will be able to achieve its goals. So thank you.
Next, Vice President Mascon comes out of the business world in which accountability is measured by your ability to produce results, and that is all. He joins Board Member DeJesus and having military service in this country. He looks at things operationally, and if there's a protector of the funding that is meant to do good things for our kids, it's Lester. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Ken. I'll just kind of recap kind of my comments from the last one. Obviously, an amazing amount of effort and work that have gone into getting this done. And a big team with a lot of different, directions, things that consolidated in one document. I think that was very well done. Things that we wanted to make sure that we saw from it was a brand promise. Just that 2-line statement that just tells you exactly what we're all about and what we're trying to accomplish. 2, creating a summary for broader consumption that would, allow those that maybe aren't interested in reading the entire thing, but still can read the Reader's Digest version of it and then dive into detail where they see fit. Beyond that, there's a lot of targets and goals in there, and it's amazing how they're tied back to the LCAP in every single way, which is perfect and exactly the way you would want to do that. But they do need to be broken down into individual targets and goals with a schedule and a calendar of what we're going to do, specific actions to achieve and move each one of those goals. Obviously, that's not all going to happen in 1 year, but you're going to take bites of it. You're going to set smaller targets to achieve those larger goals each year. And I think understanding what those targets and goals are with data associated with each one of those. And then finally, taking everything that we said we were going to do and benchmarking it for where it currently is at. So when it comes to the end of the year, we can tell which targets we moved and if we did that in a measurable way. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, I have a great deal of individual dedication and competence up here. I would like to let you all know that Mr. Costan participated in this and gave it a very critical look all the way through it. He has business background and those types of things. There are a great number of people that contributed to this, and sometimes people polarize themselves to one thing. Only one thing is important. And I was very impressed with Ms. Hernanian and Ms. Costan, who as student representatives stood up there. It is so difficult, and you two listen to this, I'll give the speech again. It is very difficult, and the sign of a good leader is to be objective enough and understand that some people around you, like these people here, I have it easy. I go through the gender view. When I'm down there, I get rowdy and do what I do. But I enjoy people that are dedicated, who are critical thinkers, so I don't have hang votes. When it comes to you guys, it is very difficult, especially in today's environment, where you take the ideas of a bunch of people in a strategic plan, or you're developing an organizational plan, and you are trying to get all of this put together. And at the end of the day, you're the one that stands up there and has to take everybody's thoughts but your own. And sometimes you have to take what you're feeling and put it aside and be the bigger person that says, all of the people that contributed to this made this happen, and I am going to stand up there and represent it. The kids in our schools, some of them by sitting up there have been through a budget development cycle, an LCAP cycle, all these other things. I don't even know what they mean. But when you can stand up there and tell the community, I believe in this because you do, that is a skill that I think both of you have, and you need to share that skill with other people. It is my pleasure to know that the superintendent is going to put these things in order. So when you see numbers on his reports, that means that that effort is being measured against one of the planks of the strategic plan. So if I ever hear the community isn't heard all those ridiculous things, the bottom line is he is accountable to report out on the things that Lester just talked about in his spreadsheet that he expects every 5 minutes. So at the end of the day, we have a highly functional team. Okay, 10 minutes. We have a highly functional team, and it's my pleasure to serve with these people. And it is my pleasure to recommend that the board endorse the strategic plan. Anything you want to add?
Thank you for the support, and I, again, appreciate the support of our students, parents, and community members that helped put this together. Thank you.
Community members, everyone that participated in this. You have your input to the school district. If you've ever been voted into a position to sit up here, you know that it's humbling to know that people actually think you can do this. Should we call the question?
Point of order, we didn't move this in. So
Okay, then
I'll
we'll
move.
do this again, and I remember everything that was said. Okay, do we have a motion to move this in? I will second. Any discussion? Can you roll the tape again for us? Okay, we did that. Call the question.
Cameron, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Yes, Susan.
Matt Scott.
Falls Graph, aye. You have your strategic plan. Thanks for the good work.
Thank you.
Moving along, correspondence, proposals, and reports. Adirap. Nothing. Okay, moving along. CSEA representative, nothing. That means you all are wonderfully happy. Thank you. Student representative to the board.
Nothing, never mind. It's a bad joke.
Wow, I thought I had the record.
No, but I do regret to inform, fell ill this week, so I pushed my request to the principals for information until a little too later, so I don't have anything to share from the elementary schools and middle schools. I will include that information in my next presentation, and I'm sorry that that was a lapse in judgment, but I do have stuff to share about Vasquez, obviously, because I'm there. And it's felt too long since I put one of our wonderful papers in your hand, so I brought everyone one from our latest publication, and I guess I will start with journalism since that's on our topic. The journalism class was just lucky enough to receive our very own printer from the superintendent, and we thank you tenfold for that. Yes, wow, it's fantastic.
That is awesome.
Yes. The printer is a huge step in making sure that journalism is an elective that we see consistently at Vasquez. A lot of students look forward to taking it. A lot of staff and students are reading our paper at every publication. And it's just a wonderful opportunity for all the students involved in it. The journalism class is taking on the unique challenge of this month is having an additional publication. So we have bi-weekly publications. So we had this one, our last Tuesday. We have our normal one the week after next, but next week we're doing a special Valentine's edition. So this is never done before. We've never pushed our staffers this hard into basically giving you a newspaper every week. And we're excited to do that. And we're excited for you to read it. Of course, you can pick it up at the office, or if you want to read it just to support us, you can find it on the Vasquez website. There's a little The Vasquez Post paper. And so you can read it wherever you want. Moving on from journalism, because I could talk all day. I love that class. We have our January student of the months. So I'll read those to you. We have Christian Taforia, Eric Delgado, Carter Dieter. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher all these names. I do it every time. Mariah Newell, Ethan Reese, Fernando Perez, Cole Keller, Francisco Vermontes, Haley Honecke, Chris Fortin, Rosalind Demeron, Adam Wiganowski, Jacob Glenwood, Zoe Kezos, Ryan Ames, Valentino Orlando, Landon McGriff, and Jenna Lee. So congratulations to all those students who were awarded by each of their teachers. It's a huge honor to receive this every month. We also like to give a big shout out to our counselors because it's Counselors Week. So Miss Salcedo and Miss Quezada do so much for everyone on campus, and we couldn't appreciate them enough for everything that we do. Everything that they do, excuse me. Moving into sports. I think I've mentioned this before, but we are very happy to announce that we have a swim coach, Miss Kiana Harris. She is an alumni of Vasquez, and this is her second year coaching this. Yes. She recognized that name. So this was a missed sport last year, and a lot of students are really eager to get it back this year. It provides a more unique sport for some of the kids. That's not necessarily running or throwing a ball, more individual. I might be biased because I was a varsity athlete in that sort, but it's really good for the students to have this additional sport that we had so many years that we lost last year. So thank you to Mr. Sparks for getting that back for us, for everyone involved, and of course to Ms. Harris for helping with that. Girls and boys soccer is doing absolutely fantastic. We could not be more proud of what they're doing on the field, as well as, bless you, as well as girls and boys basketball. They, I believe, soon have their meet or game to see if they qualify for CIF. So we're crossing our fingers, but we know they're going to do fantastic. They've been the whole season. So if you ever have time, I encourage you to check out a soccer game or basketball game. The students would love the sport. Thank you.
All right. Superintendent Gold Standard Report.
Thank you, President Fallsgraf. Tonight, I'll be focusing on student achievement as well as student safety from our existing strategic plan.
Excuse me. I have to take this opportunity. You see those numbers? Everyone see those numbers? Those are accountability points that go back to the strategic plan. So when he's reporting out on that, it is basically saying what is being measured, and the strategic plan is now more measurable than it ever has been before. It was just kind of fluffy, like, we think this is a great idea. Now it's like, look, this is the report out on what's telling you how to make sure that the strategic plan is measurable. Thank you.
Thank you. So we do have, with student achievement, I would like to go into a presentation. I know that the board, specifically past President Taxoni, spoke about attendance recovery efforts, I believe at the last board meeting or the one prior. We're happy to report some definitions when it comes to attendance. For example, chronic absenteeism, ADA, how is that defined? Some of our data points, some of the efforts that are being put forward by our schools, from our school administrators, counselors, and teams, as well as our teachers, of course, and then moving into future efforts when it comes to attendance recovery efforts. We will start with just a few definitions. ADA, short for average daily attendance. ADA is the total number of days of student attendance divided by the total number of days taught. A student attending every school day would equal 1 ADA. The state uses attendance data to allocate state funding for various programs, including the LCFF, the local control funding formula, and the state's special education categorical program. Now, chronic absenteeism has a whole different definition. Chronic absenteeism is an indicator which is based on number of students who were absent for 10% or more of the total instructional school days. For example, most schools have 180 instructional days. If a student is absent 18 or more of those days, the student would be considered chronically absent. Now, what's very important to remember, chronic absenteeism includes excused absences as well, like being sick. It also includes unexcused absences and disciplinary actions like being suspended from school. Now, ADA data points, average daily attendance. What I'd like to share with you now is the ADA average for the school district for the 21-22 school year, 89%. The 22-23 school year, again, 89%. The ADA average for first semester comparative percentages spanning 3 years. So again, first semester of each of the last 3 years, including this year. ADA average for the first semester of the 21-22 school year, 90%. ADA average for the first semester for 22-23 school year, 90%. This school year, first semester, 92%. And typically, when we're looking at ADA for second semester, that's usually when most districts, including our district, takes a hit when it comes to second semester, particularly right after spring break. In addition, I'd like to go ahead and share with our trustees and our community members our recovery efforts by school site. So at Meadowlark, some of the initiatives that are in place, they conduct weekly attendance team meetings to review data, monthly school-wide incentives, attendance contracts that have been developed for 40 chronically absent students that have been identified from the team meetings and the review of data, which then prompts conferences with the parents. And they are working on implementing a success mentor to do daily check-ins with the 40 chronically absent students that have been identified from the data review. So thank you, Meadowlark, for your efforts there. For High Desert, we have student connections, data to identify students who are not connected to an adult or activities at school or even their peers to provide support or new activities to match their interests. So we talk about plenty of times student safety and student connectedness. Well, what is student connectedness? Why are they coming to school? Many times it takes that one adult, one individual, one peer, or that activity, be athletics or an enrichment activity that really gauges their interests, and then the daily attendance takes a positive turn. Daily phone calls to absent students, of course, parent communication tips in their weekly newsletter, attendance month lessons in their AVID advisory, PBIS, positive behavior and intervention support rewards for on-time attendance as well. The efforts are continued on this slide as well. Tardy sweeps, students who are not getting to class on time when the bell rings between passing period are taken to the office. A discussion is had with the students in terms of why is it important to be in class on time so instruction is not interrupted. Restorative circles, if there are conflicts that are happening on campus, getting students together to go ahead and have that type of mediation via restorative circles. Check in, check out with a trusted adult. Parent meetings are held just to look at trends or patterns and to identify root causes associated with their absenteeism. At Vasquez High School, morning huddle. This is something that is done extensively with their team. This is done with key staff members, and this is done daily at the start of each school day. Students are checked on with a check-in, check-out process. There are empathy interviews that are held, and I'll go into a little bit detailed in terms of what are empathy interviews. The PBIS incentives that the two other sites have as well. Students on safety contracts and attendance-related issues are discussed amongst the team based on data review. And information as such is then pushed on to parents and the students that have been identified. As far as empathy interviews, really quick, these are used to gather insights that otherwise might not be apparent, consistent of open-ended questions that are tailored to the situation, in this case, about absenteeism. It is a human-centered approach to understand the feelings and experiences of others, in this case, our students, and what they're going through, and why do they have a difficult time being at school or getting to class on time. In addition, the team is digging deeper at Vasquez as far as what their attendance data reveals. As far as chronic absenteeism, students who are Hispanic account for 59.2% of students who are chronically absent and have a chronic absenteeism rate of 55.6%. The team also utilized a fishbone activity to dive deeper and discover that students who are socioeconomically disadvantaged account for 69% of students who are chronically absent. Thank you to all three sites for your efforts. Moving forward, upcoming efforts. So attendance recovery efforts continued. Just want to go ahead and share that we are applying for a CDE, State Community Service Schools Grant, which is due tomorrow. And I embedded a SART coordinator in the request for proposal, and I'll go over the definitions of SART and SARP. And you see SART up on the screen as well as SARP. So SART is a school attendance review team, which should include the parent, the student, the principal, as well as other staff. The goal of this team, which takes place at the school site, is to identify possible solutions to improving the student's attendance and or behavior. As attendance issues progress without any positive improvement, the process moves into what is called School Attendance Review Board, SARB for short. The SARB is a network of student support, includes site administrators, counselors, law enforcement officers, and a district attorney representative. SARB supports the individual schools by involving families in attempting to resolve student attendance problems. A SARB coordinator is directly connected to the district's to the district attorney's office, and they schedule hearings regarding truancy as well as poor behavior in school. Again, upcoming efforts on behalf of the district. Tomorrow, we are finally applying for the CDE's California Community Schools Partnership Grant. And again, we embedded a SARB coordinator of our own to be at the district level. That is in the proposal that will be pushed out to CDE tomorrow, keeping our fingers crossed there. And then tonight, it's perfect timing with the review of attendance recovery efforts. On the agenda, we do have everyday labs. Everyday labs would provide consistent, automated, and timely notifications to parents, as well as to guardians. They proactively use our absenteeism data to provide family and student support on behalf of the district. And that is goal 1 for student achievement, attendance recovery efforts. Thank you, Alex. Then moving forward to student safety and student connectedness, goal 4. Through our Department of Justice grant, we coordinated emergency drill simulations at all 3 of our school sites. We also coordinated campus vulnerability assessments at all 3 sites. These activities were facilitated through a consulting team that was retained through the grant. The emergency drills will be a series of coordinated drills that will be progressively challenging over the life of the grant. On January 30th, we started with a complex fire drill. So moving forward, as we have this grant for several years out, so we'll just include some more complex drills moving forward, and we will conclude with an active shooter drill at the school sites. The purpose of these drills is to build capacity. Furthermore, our principals were provided an opportunity to visit other sites as drills were staggered in their time throughout that day on the 30th. And like all grants, this practice mirrors the train-the-trainer model to help develop capacity within our organization. The drills will be evaluated based on accountability of students and the process of the accountability of students when there is an emergency situation, how each of our emergency teams are set up and deployed to help support in evacuation, reunification, search and rescue, and others, and how staff and students respond to the crisis. Findings are provided to each school site for the purpose of a debrief and future recommendations. So since this was on the 30th, we're still waiting on the debrief from the consulting team, but that is on its way. In addition, security and vulnerability assessments took place at all 3 sites during the week of January 22nd. These assessments allow for better control of access points on our campuses. They allow for identified existing hazards on campuses, existing assets, meaning our strengths of what we're doing right and what we're doing well on our campuses, and as well as challenges and what we call as existing threats on campuses. Again, those vulnerability assessment findings will be provided to our school site administration as well as district office administration for the purpose of debrief and then future recommendations. And I thank you all. That concludes my report.
Comments?
Thank you for all that information. And I'm sure this is already being done, and it's very important that our students, to touch on the chronic absenteeism, if I may. Attendance is very important, but I hope that the chronic absenteeism, especially for students whose majority of their absences are excused absences, be treated logically and tentatively, because it can be frustrating when you're absent so much that you're put into this category, but they're excused and you want to be at school, but for some reason you can't be. So I'm sure that's already happening, just to put that out there as something to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you. I would agree. I hope that we're differentiating between excused because we are just out of COVID. And when I say just out of COVID, we still have cases of COVID on our campuses. And we did stop giving out, correct me if I'm wrong, when I believe we stopped giving out perfect attendance awards. We still give out perfect attendance awards? Do you at High Desert? Super cool. We stopped giving out perfect attendance awards. Because we didn't want people to come to school sick just to get the award. So we don't want people coming to school sick and we are excusing those absences. And if you have a cough, still stay home. It's okay that you're absent. I've received those letters. They've come in my mailbox and it is what it is when you have kids that are absent. It's the kids that just don't want to go to school. Those are the ones we need to figure out. Why do you not want to come to school? Why are you not wanting to get up and go see is there a friend there? Is there a teacher you don't like? Is there bullying happening? Is there a reason that you don't want to be at school? Those are the kids that we need to really dig in deep. And by your report, it sounds like there's great things happening. And I know everybody does different things at every school, but I especially like the High Desert, how it was laid out, everything that you guys are doing there for absent kids. And one of the things that I saw was a connectedness. And that was going to be one of my questions for later is, do we know out of the kids that are chronically absent, how many of them have no connection on our school sites? How many of them have no relationship? And I would put money on this percentage of kids that are chronically absent have less connections and less relationships than kids that are always at school. When I was in school, I know I went to school to see my friends. It was a social time for me. Work, it got done. But I went there to hang out with my friends. And I mean, if you don't have connections, why bother? Why go? There's no incentive. So that I like that you guys put that in there. So good job on that. And I'm hoping that the other schools are measuring the social emotional part of absenteeism as well. And I'm seeing head nods. So I'm gonna say, yes, that's happening. It just wasn't in literal black and white up there. That is hugely important. That is a big reason for absenteeism, is not having those connections and relationship building at school.
And if I could just comment, and forgive me, trustees, I should have mentioned that these are some initiatives that are currently in place and efforts in place, but they are not limited to what you see on the screen. PBIS rewards, PBIS incentives, student school connectedness is happening throughout all 3 sites. But this was just the primary ones I wanted to kind of show the differentiation between the sites. And, there's communication in terms of best practices when it comes to our attendance improvement plans, and our principals do share their best practices at the principals meetings as well. Just want to mention.
And I do want to thank you for putting this in your report because I did ask for it and I didn't ask for it very long ago. And I asked and you delivered, and I thank you for putting this together. You and your team of admin and school staff and all that. So thank you very much for taking care of that so quickly.
Thank you for the report. I think Brianna hit all the salient information, so points that I would have echoed, so I don't have any further comments.
So I think we tell everybody that I work with that our customers will come back and see us again and again because of the interactions they have with the staff and the teachers and the people around them. So any success we have there will will be about those interactions that happen, so. Exactly what you said. Thank you for putting data in the report, so. It's always good to see exactly what where the progress report is being made exactly. And where we're at, benchmarking the whole thing, so that's great.
Good. I have the experience of 7 years watching these numbers. I look at this from two ways and very functionally, and this is an emotion for me. Financially, I noticed that during COVID attendance was kind of like easy, but not measurable, because I just had to be on the computer. I could like put a picture, I could have my dog sitting there with a mask on me, just going like this. But it had no measure educationally. And the teachers couldn't tell whether they were reaching you individually when you're there in person. So I noticed a 3% jump. Kevin, I hate to put you on the spot, but I will. What does a 1% jump at our current enrollment mean to you in the wallet? A 1% jump.
Sure. So every percent that we gain in ADA is about $100,000 additional funding that the school gets.
And that's laying on the table. That's money from the state that when you don't get it, it's just out the window. You might as well just throw it away. Thank you. I want to talk about educationally now. You ever notice when you're reading a book and you're going on and all of a sudden you realize, I don't even know what I read for the past page and a half. What that comes from is you not understanding a word. And when you go back and you figure out, oh, I know what this means, those gaps, so you get a page and a half ahead, you really don't even know what you're looking at. And then on top of that, when you're learning more on top of a foundation that hasn't been established for you. So the gap, especially in math, that's my worst subject of math. You are learning something that you're not really sure about, and you miss the ability to do your homework and then talk to the teacher the next day. And the next thing you know, days and days go by and your base ability to go from here to here completely goes out the window. That loss of continuum and how the curriculum is being presented is, I just don't know how kids can catch up. And then it gets to a point where if your performance in the class is substandard to the point where you become the laughing stock of the class, that's where the social stuff comes in at. I'm happy to know that it's very clear to me that the administrators in the district, which includes everybody who is not a teacher, the teachers care about the kids as individuals. They wouldn't be in your class. I don't know how they do it, but it's clear to me through the measurement that's going on here that the administrators in this district know the individual kid. That's more of a religious principle than anything, that you are known as an individual and that they're looking at you saying, how can we help you be your best you? Paul, I have to call you out. Some of these things when you took over your position, you have experience as an educator and an administrator, and your ability to take that experience in a non-threatening way and help people bring all of our schools together. Lester talks about brand continuum. Brand continuum is not, having the, every time you think about a cheeseburger, to look for the big M that's yellow. It's about knowing that your kid is an individual and that people like you are getting together with everybody and taking in all kinds of ideas. That is very progressive to me. Congratulations to you. That's what I have. Thank you. Submissions.
There are no submissions this evening. Thank you.
Do we have any comments about submissions? I do. If you change your address, if you have a different WIOA sponsor, you need to come in here and tell us. I don't want to learn off the streets. And I certainly don't want to learn it by getting a letter from LAUSD. Next, consent agenda. On the consent agenda are items A. That is the title. On the consent agenda, we have the minutes of the special board meeting of January 25th, 2024. We have the warrant register, which are the purchase of the district. And then we have Kevin's specialty, the purchase orders. That's the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they would like to pull off the consent agenda this evening for discussion?
Should we move it in?
Yes,
I move.
I will second.
Thank you.
By the time that I get done with this year, I'll be as good as you are. Okay. The question was, does anyone want to pull anything off the consent agenda? Good, perfect. Call the question.
Cameron, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Jesus, I.
Matt Scott.
Falls graph I, the consent agenda is good. Now, let's go on to item 10, personnel. A, personnel report 232407 amended. Brianna, would you move this in? Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Again, an action item to approve the PAR from the January 24th meeting of 2024 with the suggested changes at that time. Thank you.
Let's try this again. We'll change the title on this personnel action report 2324.07 from the January 24th board. Can I have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Good. We've had the discussion, called the question.
Cameron, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Jesus, I.
Matt Scott.
Falls graph I, that got hung last time, so there was some stuff to work through good work between one of the board members and the superintendent's office. Now we'll go to item B, the current personnel action report 2324.08. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Superintendent.
There are no changes to the PAR report for this evening. Thank you.
Perfect. Do we have any discussion?
No.
Perfect. Call the question.
Cameron, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Jesus, I.
Matt Scott.
Before I vote, I will thank the board members for all the work they do on their weekends, going over the agenda and making sure that they'll prompt to the superintendent's office by 9 a.m. on Monday morning. There's a great deal of work that goes in offline, and some people have specialties. So that said, I vote yes, that carries. C, second read and adoption of the Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District Principal Job Description. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Thank you.
No comments to share except for the comments from last time. I want to thank the principals that did a thorough review of the existing job description that was adopted a while back from this within the school board. And then taking a look at other job descriptions in neighboring districts and putting this together for adoption by our school district. Thank you.
Do we have any comments? Call the question.
Cameron, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Jesus, I.
Matt Scott.
Falls graph I, education and pupil services. First read comprehensive safety plan. This is not an action item, but we should just move it in anyway to make sure we can discuss it. Anyone, everyone.
Second.
Thank you. So every year, school boards adopt a comprehensive school safety plan, as well as a comprehensive district-wide safety plan that addresses all aspects of safety. Safety plans, they typically embed strategies for prevention as well as education into their plans. The overarching edits for the comprehensive safety plan for the district 11A, item 11A, fall within section 1, which were the suspension and expulsion data. That was updated, of course, as well as the removal of the COVID protocols that was removed from the appendix of the existing plan, and that now is a standalone COVID protocol document. Those are the overarching changes for the comprehensive school district safety
Board
plan. Thank you.
comments. As your president, I've asked the superintendent's office to redline any change. So if you're a member of the public, you can go on to the agenda. I would propose that we post those on the internet as well, so everyone can see the proposed changes and redline. So when you see something red, it is changed. Other than that, things remain stable. So there's no, we will move on, we will take action on this at the next meeting if everything goes well. Item B, first read, Meadowlark School Safety Plan. I'll move this in just for the purpose of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. For 11B, C, and D, these school plans really encompass disaster situations such as earthquake, fire, and lockdown. It also includes emergency teams such as search and rescue, reunification, first aid, student release teams. The changes in these plans typically and specific for all three sites include the staff reassignments to these teams. So those will be the primary changes that you'll see for each respective school site safety plan. It'll be the reassignment of any staff, new staff to the existing teams on the plans. Thank you.
So should we assume that that suffices for the comments about each one, or should we?
Yes, sir.
Good. So, that said, are there board questions about Meadowlark School Safety Plan? Good, thank you. Well, I'll go ahead again, just for sake of purpose, move in first read of High Desert School Safety Plan. Do I have to second myself? Perfect, thank you. We've already had our comments. Moving along, we'll go to a D, the first read of the Vasquez High School Safety Plan. I'll move that in. Thank you. We've had our comments. Discussion? Anyone on any of those three? I will discuss some. Go ahead.
I'm happy to see the formatting is aligned, but the material is aligned between the three of them, so they look like the same document modified.
Okay, so again, I've asked that these plans be put on the specific school sites. So anyone who wants to see that's a parent or a student can see anything that's coming at you that might be changed and new. Those are minimal. As always, whether it is on something like this, giving students copies of what the speech they made there, or making sure that the superintendent's reports to the board showing up on the screen are, I'm talking about you, IT man. There he is. We can't take things for granted like this. Your support and your team support is excellent. I have been to meetings that are scary, that are breached and cannot, you don't see the stuff coming up. So we take for granted what you do, but thanks for keeping us safe and for making the content pertinent. And it's always right there when we ask for it. Thank you. Your support is immeasurable. Moving on, 11. We already did that. 12, business services, approval of contact with Everyday Labs to provide service related to attendance recovery. Do I have a motion? I'll move.
Second.
Thank you. As part of our attendance recovery efforts, we're looking forward to additional supports that aid in heightening our ADA and lessening, of course, our chronic absenteeism. We're eager to hear from Ms. Nicole Bosworth. She's a senior director from Everyday Labs about the advantages of this platform. And funding, if approved, of course, will be earmarked from the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Nicole Bosworth, and I'm Senior Director from Everyday Labs. And is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm going to take you guys through a quick overview, a little bit about who we are and what we do. As you heard, we really focus on reducing chronic absenteeism, but we were actually spun out of a research and development lab at Harvard University. Our chief scientist and founder, Dr. Todd Rogers, is a behavioral scientist and a professor at the Harvard Kennedy School. And he really works on evidence-based communication and changing behavior through the nudge theory. And so many moons ago, about over a decade ago, the school district of Philadelphia came to Dr. Rogers and asked if he had ever thought about applying some of his research and work to the education field, because they had a real problem of practice around chronic absenteeism. And so that's how our first randomized controlled trial was born. Since then, we've continued to run randomized controlled trials at large and small scale to continue to optimize and test our effectiveness. And so we're really proud of our evidence base and the research we continue to run in this field. When we think about attendance, we usually think about it in kind of three buckets. Number one, average daily attendance, as you just heard mentioned. The truancy rate. So truancy, really considering unexcused absences. And then what we really hone in on with our work is chronic absence and the chronic absence rate. And that's considering all absences, excused and unexcused. What we've really found is there are a lot of misconceptions with our families around cumulative totals of absences. Families often underestimate their child's absences by a factor of 2. And so really honing in on a cumulative total and being really transparent with our families that an absence is an absence is an absence. And that really leads to missed instructional time and key time with their peers and in school. And so we really focus on that chronic absence piece. When we're doing work around attendance, there are often kind of 3 tiers in a multi-tiered system of support platform. Tier 1 is kind of putting a preventative intervention in place. Tier 2 is where we're really thinking about early intervention with, kind of smaller groups of students. And Tier 3, kind of a severe support, and that's really specialized. Where we fall with our intervention is we want to put a Tier 1 universal preventative measure in place to catch students before they become chronically absent. We want to identify barriers to attendance that families are experiencing and connect families in real time with resources to help remove those barriers, and then arm our district personnel with really critical real-time data around attendance, trends, patterns, and barriers so that they can have more effective Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention with the boots on the ground. And so for many, many years, when we think about attendance, when our families think about how they perceive attendance, it's been very punitive, for lack of a better term. And families often fear conversations around attendance, or when they get an attendance notification or a truancy notification, many times, those don't land well or they're misunderstood. As I mentioned earlier, families often lose track of their child's absences, that cumulative total. Many times attendance notifications might come too late in the process to change that behavior or to remove a barrier. And so really thinking about changing the conversation around attendance to become more restorative and supportive to our families' needs. And also, again, focus on that cumulative total and being transparent with how many absences our children are accruing. So what we do effectively is we communicate with families in 2 ways. We have 2 modes of communication. First, customized, personalized, mail-based communications. Still, a lot of times I get a question, in 2024, is mail the most effective way to communicate with families? And the answer, to some people's surprise, is yes. With 95% efficacy, it's still the most impactful way to reach the majority of our families. The second mode of communication that we utilize is a text message, and it's actually a 2-way chat bot. I'll talk about how both of those modes of communication are really unique and ways that we make them evidence-based in just a minute. But I also want to share here too, part of our solution, the other parts of our solution. We also have a live multilingual family support team that helps build capacity around attendance, field kind of that initial tier 1 support phone call, gathering data, connecting families with resources, and giving that data back to our district partners. We have a MTSS analytics platform. It's an end-to-end attendance tool that is updated nightly. So every single day, you can, get on this platform and analyze your attendance data in real time, create intervention groups, use data to make more effective attendance strategy decisions. And then we also have professional learning that comes with the platform to really focus on how to use that data to improve our attendance interventions on the ground. So I'm going to show you just and walk through our 2 modes of communication really quickly. I know we don't have a lot of time together tonight, but as I mentioned, our first mode of communication is mail-based nudges. And these are really a combination of data science and behavioral science. So you'll see a couple of those features in all of our communications, but specifically the mail-based ones. One thing that's really unique about these are that they are personalized and customized to every single student based on individual attendance data. So these are not templates. A student who has missed 5% of school days would have a different type of letter and messaging than a student who has missed 50%, for example. All of our communications are restorative and supportive in nature. They really engage families as partners in this work with accessible messaging. They are sent home in families' home language. You'll notice in the top right-hand corner on the front of the letter, there is that tracker. That is that running total, cumulative total every single month. So families can be sure of the total number of days their child has missed. We know when students hit the 9-day threshold, it impacts their academic outcomes greatly. And so we really want to keep students from, again, running up that total of cumulative absences and change that behavior before that total gets too high. You'll notice in the bottom here where we have an attendance snapshot, that is where some of our behavioral science tools come into play. When we study family engagement, we know that families want to know what is safe and normal for their children. And so when they see that their child is outside of the norm, it's actually one of the most impactful ways to change behavior. So we do a real-time snapshot of their child's total number of absences bumped up against the average, in this case, 5th grader at their child's school, and they see that their child is outside of the norm. Our research tells us that we are really able to recapture a lot of days after receiving this letter and parents and families seeing that their child is outside of that norm. On the back of our letters, we are able to address information gaps and kind of double down on important communication where we work kind of hand in hand in partnership and collaboration with our district partners on information month to month that we can put on the back of these letters. One thing that does stay the same is we have a transparent absence tracker. Many times when families receive this letter, one of the first questions that we get on our family support line, or a family might come into the school and say, hi, I don't know why I received this letter. I know Casey's missed 14 days of school so far, but 10 of those were excused. And so being able to turn that letter over and see all of the dates of their child's absences and whether it was excused or unexcused is really important. Again, to build capacity around attendance and say, yeah, we've notated excused and unexcused right here. But 14 days is a lot of missed instructional time. While I have you here, or while I have you on the line, is there something going on that I can help you with so that we can get Casey back on track and in school? And so really building capacity and trying to identify barriers to attendance and connect families with resources that they need to remove those barriers. Something that we do in regards to mail that really helps support our district partners attendance initiatives as well is we know when COVID hit and we were removed from the school buildings, that if we didn't have up-to-date contact information for our families, we were not engaging with our families for months on end. And so really trying to keep our contact information and our student information system as up to date as we possibly can. So prior to mailing our letters each month, we bump up what is in the student information system to the National Change of Address Registry with the United States Postal Service. And we see where families are receiving their mail, and that is where we mail our communications. And then we give a back-end report every single month to our district partners about updating and cleaning up contact information, so that when they are going to do tier 3 interventions like phoning home or home visits, that they are knocking on the right door or reaching out in the right place. So that's really critical as well. And then I'll show you a quick example of our chatbot. This is actually something that was innovated by Dr. Rogers and team during COVID. We heard from a lot of our families that, they needed resources in real time and they needed response in real time. And so we created a chatbot that is a two-way form of communication. It is 24/7, and we hear from families 24/7. So our chatbot delivers an attendance communication. Again, Casey's missed 15 days of school this year. Attending every day possible will help Casey stay on track. How can we help? And so we get a lot of information around barriers that our families are experiencing. In the chatbot, our chatbot the technology is able to recognize the barrier and plug in a resource, a live web link or a live phone number that will help families resolve that barrier. We collect all of this data as well and give that back to our district partners in a report each month. And it's also something that's logged on our dashboard. Another innovation we use in our chatbot is something called findhelp.org. And this is something where families can report the barrier they're experiencing. In this case, on the right here, it's housing. But we ask for the zip code. And when they provide their zip code, findhelp.org is able to compile a full list of housing resources, in this example, within 1 mile of the zip code they provide. So again, critical resources to help remove additional barriers to attendance for our families, and then giving our district partners that back-end information to really support, the tier 2 and tier 3 efforts on the ground surrounding attendance. I'll pause here for any questions or comments.
I have questions and comments, but I think I'd rather wait till you were done.
Okay. Just 2 more quick points here. I mentioned earlier, part of our resource is kind of an end-to-end attendance dashboard. This is something, again, for attendance teams, principals, district personnel, to utilize to really keep track of in-depth attendance data in real time. And so really focusing on not only the average daily attendance rate, day to day, month to month, week to week, but the chronic absenteeism rate at the district level, at the individual school site level, and then down to the individual household and student level. You're really able to see patterns, trends, attendance tiers. When you look at the attendance tiers down here in that pie chart, when we do kind of our biannual and annual impact reporting to deliver to you, what we really focus on is how many students are we moving up those tiers. We really want to see severely chronic going to moderate going to at risk, moving as many to satisfactory as we can. So we pay a lot of attention to those attendance tiers and how that's tracking. Really looking at kind of a streamlined coordination for student and family outreach, being able to, again, pull up an individual student or household and look at, what their prior attendance rate was, what their trends are. Is this a student who is missing Mondays? Is it a weekend extender? What tier are they in? What are their total number of absences? And then you can see each month, you can see the days that they were tardy or that they were absent. And then you can see the month-to-month chronic absenteeism rate. You can add case notes, create intervention groups. For example, if, our family support team and our chatbot reported that there were 14 calls or reports from families around a barrier to transportation, you can create an intervention group in Everyday Pro, the dashboard, and really work through those tier 2 and tier 3 interventions on the ground, making sure those transportation barriers are removed family by family. Okay, so I'll pause here and answer any questions and go back if I need to. I was trying to honor your time. I know I probably said a lot in a short amount of time.
Let's wrap the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Bosworth. I just
Okay.
want to share with the trustees and the community. I have worked with Everyday Labs in the past. I've worked extensively around chronic absenteeism rates, ADA, truancy. What I really appreciate about Everyday Labs is that the letters going out or the text messages going out are not punitive in nature. The punitive letters that go out become really highly saturated with our families because they typically just cite the truancy code, they cite chronic absenteeism, and there's this high saturation rate with families when they keep seeing the same legalese language in letters. What Everyday Labs, like Dr. Bosworth mentioned, it's very restorative in nature. It does provide supportive components. It does provide resources to our families. And what I really appreciate is not only the letters, but the text messages. As a former truant student who did not attend 7th grade myself back in the day, I know, letters will be coming home, but I would get to the letters before my parents came home from work and the letters would just disappear suddenly somehow. If there were cell phones created at that time, I know that text messages would have had a major impact. So just wanted to make my personal and professional comments regarding this platform. Thank you.
Some people say my honesty can be my downfall, and thank you. That's kind. So we shall see in this situation. I think a lot of what this is absolutely fantastic. The find help resources are fantastic and would be something really beneficial. Other things I feel could become frustrating very quickly. Because I know when I'm with my mother, I'm absent from school, doctor's appointment, who knows? And she gets the phone call from Vasquez High School. She goes, yeah, I know she's absent, and doesn't even pick it up. So text messages and letters in the mail could be a lot. And yes, poking the bear can make change, but poking the bear can also make people mad. So overkill may be like necessary, also maybe. It's purely up to see like what happens. I would also like to see real statistics from schools who have used this, who have seen an improvement in their attendance, and how much that improved based off of schools who didn't use this. And I did check the number of what we are paying for this program, which I know this is Mr. Mascon's thing. But it seems a lot for something that we are not being given a definite, these are the statistics that proves this is a viable resource for us, rather than it being up in the air of how effective it may be. Thank you.
I like everything that you brought up, but what is the statistics from other schools, was one of the questions that I had. So, do we have those? I have all kinds of notes, so I apologize already. Do we have statistics from other districts that have used this platform?
I'll defer to Dr. Bosworth if she has any updated statistics from any other school districts that she could chime in. or
Yeah.
share at this point, or we could provide later?
Yeah, absolutely. I can do both with our impact reporting. In each for each of our randomized control trials that we run, which is kind of the gold standard in educational research, we have received an 11 to 15% reduction in the chronic absenteeism rate. And that's what we generally see in that window with our district partners. Each calendar year, we provide for all of our district partners very detailed impact reporting where we run all of our testing and our impact. We do that kind of in a mid-year and an end of year so that you can see exactly how many students have moved the attendance tiers. We look at average daily attendance rate and we look at chronic absenteeism rate. But generally speaking, across the country with our district partners, large and small, we fall into the range of 11 to 15% reduction in a chronic absenteeism rate at scale. And then I can provide you on the back end via email as a follow-up our impact reporting for the 22-23 calendar year where we ended up last year across the country.
And my follow-up question to that, since we're comparing districts, what is your average district that you're working with look like? Is it city? Is it large districts?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. A little of everything. We have, very, very small districts. We have rural districts. We have some of the largest districts in the country, like Houston ISD and New York City. We have districts that range from, very, very small to very large, rural and urban. I'm trying to think 13 states across the country. So we have, partners of every shape and size. Something else that really, was eye-opening and touched me personally when I got into this line of work. I was previously in curriculum instruction, heavy focused on literacy, was that when I looked at the research in all of the randomized control trials that Everyday Labs was running, it was really stunning to me that the reduction that they saw in chronic absenteeism rates was across all demographic, was across all socioeconomic statuses, was the same across all district shapes and sizes. So that is something that really impresses me with this work and this research, that it's for all students, not just a targeted group. So to answer your question, we can get you a full list too, if that's helpful, of all of our district partners across the country. But it really, really ranges in size and scope, and state to state, what they look like. But we have several partners that would look similar to you demographically, and then we have several that are, a lot larger in scope as well.
Thank you. I'll move to the letter part of it. We're already sending attendance letters out, and you said that the attendance letters that get sent out now are very, they just state the facts, state the law, and they're more punitive, and these would be different. But correct me if I'm wrong, district has the ability to create that letter. We put in the computer what that letter should say and what that letter should look like, and we have chosen to make it punitive and the way that it is. And when I say we, I do not mean me and this board. I mean, that's the last letter that I saw coming from this district. It was borderline rude. But we as a district have the ability to change the letter that we're already sending out. So can't we, if our goal is to send something out that's encouraging, and can't we just do that with the letter that we're already generating?
To answer your question, yes, we could edit the current truancy notification because that is generated through our SIS system Aries. Beyond that, I think the more critical piece is the automation and the timeliness of Everyday Labs or a platform like Everyday Labs. Currently, the truancy notifications are maybe sent out quarterly by the sites. It requires a lot of time and manpower, and my hats off to our front office staff. They do amazing work. But this is on a daily basis in terms of checking the attendance for all students and making sure that the truancy notifications go out in a timely manner and not necessarily, every quarter, for example. And so, and having the letters actually tailored to the specific types of data that is being pulled for each and every student. I don't believe that Aries has that kind of analytics to pull and tailor a specific letter for a specific student in terms of needs and supports.
And something that I didn't mention, because I'm not sure if we decided that you wanted it to be part of kind of the initial effort, but the platform, the MTSS data analytics platform that I mentioned, Everyday Pro, where we house all of our attendance data, we also run truancy from that platform for many of our districts. And Dr. Rogers actually worked with when Kamala Harris was the Attorney General in the state of California. He actually worked with the state to rewrite the official notice of truancy for California to make it more effective and move a lot of the legalese to the bottom, and so that families could understand in a clearer way, what was being asked. And so we utilize kind of the updated, more effective notice of truancy, and that's an option as well to look at. But that's something, yes, I would agree. I think that's something that we hear from families often. And I think our general idea in being a tier 1 kind of preventative intervention is really trying to lessen that stack of truancy notifications, again, to catch students before they get to that point and try to change that behavior with a lot of restorative measures before we are getting to kind of that punitive truancy point.
Okay, so right now we send letters out quarterly. We send a truancy letter and we send a chronic letter. And sometimes people get both, sometimes people only get one. Am I understanding right that now this letter will go out like when the student reaches 5 absences, and it doesn't have to be on the quarter, it's based personally, and so when little Susie reaches 5 absences on Monday, a letter will go out, but then when little Johnny reaches 5 absences on Friday of that week, their letter will go out, and then, so we're not waiting for the quarter. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, so what we do is we have a student selection criteria, students who are missing 5 to 95% of school days. And so we send a monthly letter based on their cumulative total of absences. And then we do bi-weekly unlimited text messages with our chatbot. So we work with our district partners to calendarize based on, currently what you are sending with your attendance communications, so we can really streamline that and also maybe remove some of that legwork from the district, the tier 1 legwork. And so that we are kind of streamlining that communication. And then we also work to calendarize to make sure we are mailing on the highest impact days. We look at critical testing windows, we look at vacations, et cetera. And so we create a calendar at the start of the year where we think we're going to have the most impact. But we send 1 letter a month and then bi-weekly attendance text messages in between.
Okay.
Excuse me. For the sake of moving us along, consultant, please step back from the discussion. I think the questions you're asking are not for somebody in New York or wherever you happen to be, with all due respect, doctor. You're trying to determine what this district's policy is on
No, I'm
when
trying to
to send the
determine.
letters out.
No, I'm trying to actually determine what are we doing already, and how does this differ
With
from
all
what
due
we're doing
respect,
already?
this person has no idea what we're doing already. The superintendent does. So in the matter of expediting this
I'm
discussion.
sorry,
in the,
There's a lot of
expedite
discussion that
this.
has already gone on and now it's,
so you're gonna continue with your questions,
mhm.
but I'm telling you, this is your contact about process, not this person here. So
But
please
when I want
carry
to
on.
compare our district process with their process, she is the person that can give me the answers on her
Good,
process.
so
And he's the person that can give me the answers on our process. So I believe that I can take the time to ask the questions
of course
when
you
I'm
can. But we're
fully, so
gonna-
I'm fully
we're-
informed
we're
before
gonna
I
move
vote to
this
spend
along.
$40,000. So
Okay.
every time that you want to talk about stuff that I don't want to hear about, should I tell you that you need to
You
move it
you
along?
should, you actually should, but I'm asking for the benefit of my understanding. When you're asking the superintendent what our process is now, when the kids get a letter that they're rude and that they're whatever they are, I expect to hear an answer from the superintendent to inform myself. This person would not know if our things are rude. So as the board president, I'm
Superintendent gave
just
me the answer for that.
redirecting this. If the questions are for the superintendent, let's have the superintendent answer those questions. This is your responsibility, this contract. This contract is not going to tell our district what we're going to do based on something they do somewhere else. So please get control of the presentation in terms of what questions you are going to ask and what questions should be referred to the consultant. So please go ahead. Every question you have is welcome.
Since I was rudely interrupted, I'm gonna go ahead and stop there and I will just vote no.
I have a quick question. Does the everyday program, does it involve or have the ability for parents to access the portal and be proactive in their child's absences, or is it just the threshold which activates the letter?
No, the dashboard is not for parent use. That's district use.
Okay, so I mean, I don't want to be reductive in the program, but to my understanding, you're just capturing all the truancy data and the information more efficiently and then sending it out the notices. Pretty much we're outsourcing our ability to capture truancies and send our own notices. Is that correct? Is there anything else that you're offering that's different from what we offer here as a district?
I don't know if you're sending customized communications to families. I don't know if you have a chat bot connecting
So that would be the,
resources.
so I'm sorry. So that would be the difference is the customization per.
Yes. The customization, the evidence base, we test all of our communications, every last one. And the other piece, the dashboard as well. I'm not sure the capabilities of your SIS, but I think as the superintendent mentioned, our dashboard with the real-time kind of deep dive attendance data has different capabilities. And it streamlines attendance interventions.
Thank you.
So we're gonna have a lot of sensitive data going to a third party.
Yes.
So I'd
From
like
our
to know what
student
sort
information
of
system.
privacy and data security that they adhere to. So, and whether they've ever had a breach of data at their facility.
I'll defer to Dr. Bosworth. Thank you, Lester.
No, we have not had a breach. Again, we work closely with our district partners and legal with data sharing agreements. We really only focus on pulling attendance data from the SIS. We have an initial integration, and then we have an automatic data extract of the attendance data so that we can customize our communications. We have a data engineer and a data analyst that helps that process on the back end.
I'm speaking specifically to data security and privacy, like what ISO standards you adhere to, what your data security practices are to ensure nobody else gets a hold.
Yeah, I can say that that's not necessarily my area of expertise, but we have a very detailed data sharing agreement that we enter into with our
I know
district.
you have a data sharing agreement. I'm not asking that question. I read the data sharing agreement in your
Okay.
contract.
So I apologize. I guess I'm not sure I'm clear on what you're asking.
If you could state the question again, Mr.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Gascon,
pretty-
and
it's-
then we could see if they could provide it to us at
Yeah.
a later date.
How do you ensure nobody can get at our data that you're collecting?
I will ask, I guess I can ask our IT team for a specific answer to that so that I can answer it in the correct way.
Are we having training for any of our staff to be able to use the back end and the portal and everything?
Yeah, there are 4 different professional
Let's
learning
get back to
sessions. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, but to piggyback on Dr. Bosworth's, yes, there is training that is provided in terms of the dashboard, how to utilize the dashboard, who gets access to the dashboard, and then there's continual support and training for any and all staff that may onboard who needs access to the dashboard from Everyday Labs. So yes.
I mean, I like everything it's doing for us, and I get that it's automating a task that we're probably not doing a great job with for lack of resource today, or it's happening intermittently, and it's just one of those things that we can outsource, and it sounds great. Man, it's just a lot of data going to a third party, and it just.
And for privacy breach, you know, I will circle back with Dr. Bosworth to get information, and she says she'll collect from IT, and then we could disseminate it back to the trustees.
And I'd like to motion that we table this so we get that information.
I'll have my comments and I'll circle back around. As the president of this board, it is not my job to monitor what people are saying or whatever. It's my job to develop consensus. And that means I'm not the hang vote. I don't want to be the hang vote. I depend on these people down here. Here's what I've heard. And I'm not going to sit up here and hand out lectures or job evaluations live. Here are my concerns. There seems to be some question about the effectiveness of the current system. That's a really nice way of saying, I think that the letters are rude. I think that there can be improvements. I don't want to hear that here. Those are the kind of conversations that go offline. Next, I'm hearing people asking questions about basically the way I'm taking this in is who's doing this work now? Is this district work? Is it district association work? So we have a union issue. Are the unions, and I'm not going to ask the union rep, are the people who do this work, have they agreed to think this is a good idea? And does the discussion move this along to the point where the time that's taken from those people, is it going to be applied to something else that's going to improve the district and the effort of the district somewhere else? That wasn't answered for me. The data stuff, that's just mind boggling to me. I referenced earlier in the meeting, I attended a meeting. Do we all remember the unfortunate meeting where someone was up on the screen? If I can't keep a meeting safe, I don't know what we do with all kinds of data. Here's what I want to point out, and I think this is the most important. I've asked Alex to put up a screen. There it is. This is what we were discussing earlier. This is where the meaningful discussion was. And I think the takeaway is that there was a recognition that we are hurting ourselves financially, which means we are hurting the kids and what we offer them. We are hurting our staff and how we pay and benefit those people by not doing what we can to encourage kids to go to school. Okay. We heard from our financial person that every 1% increase is $100,000, and that this district has moved ahead without the support of a third-party vendor and all this that we're hearing up here tonight, including from me, that we are on an upward trend. And where I come from, at 2.5 points is $250,000. That's $1 million. At 12,000 a kid, that's the equivalent of taking on new enrollment. And that's our problem. Enrollment is our problem. Okay. But at the end of the day, here's what I'm hearing as your president. I need to know that the data is safe. I need to past, present taxonomies questions. What is staff? I don't want staff insulted ever. You don't hear me doing that up here. Is it gonna make it easier? Does staff support this? Is it a good thing along those lines? And so I'm gonna circle back through just because. But I'm gonna second Lester's motion to table this until it's ready for prime time, because I don't think this was fully baked.
I would just like to make it clear that to the presenter, I apologize, I forgot your name. That we do appreciate your presentation and your time and everything, but I don't believe we have accurate materials to vote on this reasonably today, and I would like to see the statistics presented and unbiased statistic pooling of other districts who are not using this program and how they're making advancements in the years. And really just more information to better reflect the values of our district at a later date.
So let me jump in on that. If you could list, let's try to keep it under 5, the information by topic that you would feel comfortable voting yes or no on this on a future date, feel free to tell us what that would be.
Are you meaning like what resources this would be providing us?
Yes, like what questions do you have in your mind that just aren't answered right now that you feel you need more information if that's the case?
I would say productivity. With the use of this third-party app and or program and districts without it. I really just don't think we have enough information, but it could be something viable for us. Really, all I'm focusing on is the statistics, the hard facts, and I didn't even think about the security of it. I think that's really important to know too. So thank you, Mr. Mascon, for bringing that up.
So you would like more information to summarize this. I need to build consensus. Somebody out there with staff needs to have a list of the questions that are coming at us next time, and don't bring this back to us until these questions can be answered. You're looking at just basic comparable data of other districts our size
Yes,
and what to do about the data,
yes.
how the data is protected. Ms. Taxoni.
My unanswered questions would be the analytics and reporting. How is the analytics and reporting different from the Aries polls that we're able to do? I do see that it's put together in a pretty package with a bow, and I do like the bar graphs and all of that. But when you're just looking at the data without having somebody else put it in a bar graph for you, I believe that the Aries can pull the same data that they're pulling, and we already have access to that. As far as the chat bot, when the parents respond to a chat bot, where is that response going? Is that if the parent says, oh, my kid was sick this day or whatever, is that then going to the person at the site doing attendance so that they can record that in Aries and make it an excused absence? Is that going to the district? Who gets that information when parents go back and forth, and what resources have been offered to them? Who's keeping track of that? Who at the district or the school site is able to see that information that parents are giving to a chatbot? And in that same line of thinking, how is that chatbot building a relationship with that parent? Yes, we got them to finally respond to maybe a parent that we don't get to respond, but now they're talking to not a real person, and nobody in here appreciates when we call somebody and it's not a real person on the line. When we're talking to an AI, that's not building a relationship from our small school district that we pride ourselves on being able to do that. Because we're small, we're able to build those relationships, and I don't think that that's the way to do that. So I would be curious as to how that all happens and how it plays out. It's a great idea, but I want to know how it plays out until the end of that chat conversation. And I wanted to know who has access to the dashboard. Does the dashboard go to only district staff, only principals? Is that going to our attendance staff that's then making follow-up phone calls? And I also wanted to know how this affects our office staff that's currently doing attendance. Is this helpful to them? Have they been asked about it? Have they been able to give any input on it? How does this affect our office staff that's currently doing it? And then I have how will written here, and I don't even know where that was going. My notes are all
So
over.
if I may, if I'm staff, I'm hearing that the process flow isn't well described. That there's a possible depersonalization of our brand in this. I don't know who I'm talking to. I trust. Come on, let's fix this up right here. I have a very personal question for you. Have you ever saw to it that a kid got to school that wasn't able to get to school because of a resource personally? Yeah, I can tell the answer. Okay, so it's not you that's the issue here. Tell me if I called you tomorrow and said, can you get Tammy to school, you wouldn't be there.
I would be.
Okay, I know that. So that's you and I. But what I'm hearing here from you is we need to know a little bit more about the process flow, what it looks like. We need to know how we keep our hands on, we're here for you, personal service. Brianna, I'm calling you. Here's my problem, help me. And finally, what is this doing to staff? What's the effect on staff? That's my concern. Is staff going to feel like they've been replaced by a robot? Because at the end of it all, staff has to be the one to pick up the phone that says the robot just freaked out on me, right? Okay. Anything else?
Yes, one last thing, and this is specific to, the office staff that we have in 2021, I believe. Office staff we had a reduction in hours and we had office staff laid off. The attendance clerk position went from a full-time position to a 575. The office clerk at Vasquez was laid off. And I believe the clerk at Meadowlark was laid off and then since rehired, and I could be wrong about Meadowlark, but I know for a fact that happened at the other two schools. So when we're talking about coming in and spending money to do the job of the people that have been laid off at our district, I see that as a potential issue with not just the staff that is currently doing the job right now, but possibly with CSEA laying them off and then taking the work that they could be doing and giving it to an outside company. If that were happening to me personally, I would be offended. So I would hope that we're not offending our labor unions.
You good?
Now I'm done.
Okay, so now I'm gonna summarize that. About 15 minutes ago or 4 hours ago, I said, how is this affecting our association work? I really think that what someone is asking for here is assurance that the robots aren't taking over our district. That's a superintendent question. Are you good? George, please.
I have no further questions that I need answered, other than what Lester said and Brianna.
I think we have an IT professional that could probably look at the data security side and evaluate that as well on staff. I deal with parking systems and we have an ISO certification in data security and privacy and we meet the GDPR requirements. So, and that's for parking data. So I'm sure someone who's dealing with our student data would have some sort of similar certifications. For Kevin, in their contract, it says that they will meet our minimum requirements for insurance requirements. So maybe we should think about what our insurance requirements are if we're going to be letting someone else have access to all of our private student data. Also, we're holding them harmless. They have they have an indemnification clause in their contract. So any mistakes they make are on us.
Okay, so what you're seeing here is democracy in action. You have somebody that cares very deeply about the employees. You have a student that's over here going, why is everybody freaking out at each other and keeping me up until 10 o'clock at night? You have somebody here that understands process at a very high level. You have a financial person. You have me, a scrapper, that doesn't want staff insulted. Sometimes things are not ready for prime time. No one should be insulted here. We will come ahead with something far better. Before I close discussion on this, we have a public speaker. Please come forward, state your name. And this is on this agenda item.
Hi, my name's Angie Martin. I'm a parent of a student in the district. My question is, if this was answered beforehand, please forgive me, but when you mentioned the chat bot, what kind of communication goes back and forth between the parent and the chat bot? There are parents who don't want to call the office. I forget to call the office and then I apologize a day or two later, sorry, I just got really busy and I forgot. But there could be a parent who just refuses to call. If the chatbot is communicating back and forth with the parent, could the parent write to the chatbot, my child is sick, and then somehow that gets back to attendance and then it gets cleared that way? That's my question.
Or upload the doctor's note right through the chat box.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Would it be fair to summarize your comment that you need a better description of a flow, a work process flow?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that said, I'm gonna do this one last time. You can all be pissed at me all you want, but we're gonna make sure we get this off the table. Anything?
I think I said everything I needed to say. I think there's.
So the motion on the table is that this is brought back at the superintendent's pleasure with the things that were brought out, with the better able to discuss it. And I'll call the question. We're tabling this discussion to a point where the superintendent will choose to bring it back, at this point, the contract will not be authorized pending another discussion, please.
To table it, Cameron, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
This is,
Not Stelling.
Fallsgraf, aye, were unanimous. I think you have your direction. Thank you, consultant. Moving along. Resolution 2023-2415, establishing procedure for appointment of a provisional board member. Superintendent.
It's recommended that the board review the resolution as stated by President Fallsgraf for the appointment of a provisional board member, given Mr. Costin's resignation of January 24, 2024.
Do I have a motion for discussion of this item by the board?
Motion.
second.
Has everyone looked at the information? I think we're fairly familiar with this. Any comments or questions?
No.
So what we're basically looking for here, the difference between item B and C, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we would appoint a provisional board member temporarily until the election. So whoever would be appointed up here would be chosen by board majority vote. So we've been through this. You'll have people come in, they'll fill out a form, they'll do whatever, and there would be an interview process, and we would go through that. I'm not entertaining discussion right now on the second item, but the other one is that I think we would go to an expense to have a special election in which the county would hold an election. What I want to do is, again, I haven't motioned for us to discuss that, but I don't think we can make a decision because we're going to vote between these two, is that correct?
That is correct.
What is the estimated cost from the county on having a special election in lieu of an appointment?
We received updated numbers from LACO and our contact there, and it's listed here under 12C. That is a dollar amount of 80,000 for a special election.
So that said, I'm gonna do something unorthodox, get the attorneys after me if you need to. I want to open discussion on item C as well. I want to simultaneously discuss these things and then vote on them separately. Do I have the support of the board to do that?
Yes.
Good. So that is resolution 2023-24.16, ordering a special election to fill a government board vacancy and providing specifications of election. So what we're asking you to consider is, do you want to spend $80,000? And my understanding is that $80,000 would put somebody in a chair until the next election and not fill the term. Is that correct? Or would this fill the term that for the entire period of time, which is through 2026?
Yes,
It would fill the election till 2000. The person who would be elected by special election would fill the chair till 2026.
correct.
So when we are doing, let's say that we do an appointment and the person will be up for election in 2024, ultimately to serve 4 years.
Yes, as an appointment, they will go through December of 2024.
So if we spend $80,000, we're basically circumventing what a public election in November would bring to us without 80,000. And it's my understanding that we have 2 seats that will come up,
Yes,
but without this on the election.
yes.
And short of a shortage of candidates, in which there would not be an election for maybe 1 seat or whatever. So board members, here's what I want you to discuss, please. Is it worth $80,000 to you to put somebody in a chair until November? That's the question. Please consider your personal interests if that fits you in your discussion.
Simply and plainly, no, I don't think it's worth it.
Why do you feel that way? If I may ask.
I think a provisional appointment could give someone the opportunity to, I don't want to say test the position, but test to see if they want to run for a permanent position. And I don't know, I also like.
I was thinking more like, lines of $80,000 into your music program or your newspaper, something like that is how I was thinking. But I never thought of that. That's right. Which goes to show you old people are pretty stupid.
But yeah, I don't think that makes.
Brianna,
I don't think that $80,000 is worth it, and I would like to go the appointment route, not the special election.
Same here. It's not worth the $80,000.
I just have one question. If we're adding another candidate in November, is there incremental cost to adding a third candidate or not?
I don't believe so, but we could go ahead and confirmation
Just
on that,
curious.
but
You don't have to look at it.
mhm,
It's not $80,000, right?
no.
okay, I'm the board president. The only way I'm worth $80,000 is dead. So I think we have consensus here that we're. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call, and we're gonna vote on both regardless. We've had a motion and a second on item B, for an appointment. Barring no further discussion, call that question. You want to appoint someone in lieu of having an election.
Cameron, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
Yes, Susan.
Not Scotland.
Fallsgraf, aye. Now, by default, what this means is item C, resolution 2023-2416, ordering a special election to fill a governing board vacancy, providing specifications of election. Can I have a motion?
No motion.
A second.
So this is the opposite. Any discussion? Call the question.
Cameron, no.
Brianna Texoni, no.
Jesus, no.
Mask on.
Fallsgraf, no. We will appoint someone, please. Prepare now. We are board comments. Should I extend the meeting?
I'm 2 hours late to work, so I don't know. I think I'm fired.
No. I think we could be fast. I think we could be fast.
Okay. Ms. Taxoni.
I just have a couple things. I forgot last board meeting to thank the basketball teams. They invited me to their senior night. And I was able to announce the games, and I was even thrown into helping run the clock, which I've never done before. I'm not a basketball person at all. So it's always fun when I get challenged and get to celebrate our teams and our seniors. So I just wanted to thank the girls and the boys basketball teams for letting me be a part of your senior night. And I also want to recognize our school counselors for National School Counseling Week. Nicole Saucedo and Tiffany Quesada are absolutely incredible. They're instrumental in our schools. And I just want to recognize them for just how awesome they are. So thank you, Nicole and Tiffany, for all that you do. And I hope you're having the greatest week possible. And that's all.
George.
Thank everybody for attending today's session, and I want to appreciate and thank Mrs. Van Ornum and the High Desert for that great field trip today at the Reagan Library. My daughter came back; she was very appreciative, and she was enlightened and had enriched her knowledge. But thank you, and I appreciate that.
George, feel free to. Okay.
We keep coming up with new challenges every day, it seems, in a positive way, and we have wonderful staff who overcomes it as well, so. Other than that, I don't have further comments.
I'll say what I always say, students, I'm proud of your educational, athletic, and extracurricular endeavors. Staff, I am thankful for your support of the students of this district. And board members, I congratulate you on your support of our superintendent and his focus on the administration of this district in a way that supports the two things I said just before that. Ms. Van Ornum, and I can't say enough about what I went to today. We had basically a war hero, David Bell via. Yeah, he was, I got to see what I look like in a board meeting. He was like this, but he reached the kids. And the worst part about it is this guy was shot up in every way. And he never even mentioned that. And he got very uncomfortable because the guys that come home, that came home in a box, he gave them the heroes. I was so impressed. There were, maybe I shouldn't say that. Let's say that there were schools there that didn't represent themselves well. Our students were respectful the entire time, not only in the way they acted, in the way they responded, but in the questions they asked him. They were very respectful. So going along with what we saw in support of veterans here, there are people who have given their whole life that don't scream and let it out what's inside of here. They go to the VFW, and sometimes these kids are all they have. So awesome. I could not be prouder of you and your kids. Thank you. Okay, that said, we will go to the calendar. Yeah. We have a regular board meeting on February 22nd, 2024, and one on March 14th, 2024. If we can't make a quorum, and that's hard to do sometimes, let us know. But does anybody see an existing problem that they know of right now for those meetings?
I suspect we're gonna need to have a special board meeting somewhere in between or a couple times, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll be announced to us and that'll be announced to the public. Please do the best you can about getting that out early. We're not advertising a special board meeting like the day before.
It says
So-
right here, February.
Yeah, so that said, future agenda items, we have differentiated assistance, dashboard, state data. Those are typical standard reports. Anybody? Good. I think we have a contract to put on. I also, our current, structure does not have a clerk. A clerk is probably the most important thing in here when it comes to signing the documents that Yolanda needs. I would like to see a clerk appointment put on the next agenda along with the criteria discussion of what, why, and how in the staff report, or at least in the comments on the agenda. That said, can we move for adjournment at 9:53 PM?
I'll motion.
Second.
Call the question.
Cameron, I.
Brianna Texoni, aye.
This is,
Mask on.
Paul Jeff, aye. Thank you all.